The destruction of families is not solely an American problem. This is an international problem. It spans the entire world. I know, I've talked to everybody, or a lot of people. I have a gentleman today here from Canada, Guy, and right now, I'm going to let you pronounce your last name. Babinue, our next speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's my speech, but I'm going to go away from that. If you want to read it, it's going to be published in the National Foster Parent Coalition for Allegation Reform. I'm Canada's director of that organization, an organization based in the United States, but it has since, through our mutual cooperation, got to include both Canada and the United States. We're working on Canada now. They've done a beautiful job with the state. We've got lots of work to do in Canada. But don't get misled by the fact that it's foster parent. It has started being foster parent, but it's going to include both biological parent as well as adoptive parent. It's a pleasure to be associated with that organization. It's a pleasure to be associated with a lot of groups in the United States. I'm going to speak about Canadian experience, which is not too much different than your experience here, except that, pardon me, but I think that you're in more shape than we are. And I say that because of what I've learned about how the system works. Our system is not that much better, but I don't think that it's yet as corrupted as yours. And we're having a very hard time in Ontario getting the government to hold the agencies accountable under the Ombudsman. Their claim is that because they're an organization outside the government, that government should hold them accountable for it, and therefore that the Ombudsman shouldn't get involved. In 2006, we had the director's review, a minister's director's review that could go into the Children's Aid Society and investigate. That put a weight on the ministers and on the government. What they decided to do was to delegate that work to our board that would work at arm's length. What's happening there is that confrontational side. You get the Children's Aid and the person that the parent has to go after Children's Aid, but the parent doesn't have often the access of their file. And was the case in one of the cases I'm working with, where we found, let me backtrack a little bit. There was some false allegation with in the common law relationship. She got her husband or her common law partner to move into Sauna, which was a bit away from the matrimonial home. Now, once that order was, they start going back and forth, like it was said yesterday. The order that you have is not where the paper is written on. And too often in Canada as in the States, it's a tool to be served later down the road in divorce proceeding in custody battle. And what I find in Canada is that false allegations are used as a tool, and by the time that the criminal charges are done, quite often the child custody issues have been resolved, and then the charges are dropped. There was a case in Nova Scotia that I worked with about 2 years ago, and I keep going back for a month down east where I was born. I've been living in Toronto for over 40 years now. But there's two cases that I'm frankly following. One was false allegation of domestic abuse. It took about 2 years, 3 years before the case went to court. And it took him $10,000 in legal fees for that hearing alone, let alone bankrupt him before he went to court, before he went to trial. And that guy is so emotionally and financially bankrupt that he could go after get reunited with his daughter, but he doesn't have the strength right now after a year. He's trying to figure out, heck, what's my next step and how am I going to be able to cope with it? Another case was a case of, and let me backtrack a bit. That case, the police were involved, the lawyers were involved, and so was Children's Aid. The reason being was that his ex-partner wanted to move out west, and she couldn't move out west without his consent. Therefore, by raising allegation, she managed to be able to move out west, but it brings back to the problem of him getting back into about 3,000 miles away to get reunited with his daughter and getting the legal proceeding going. The other case that I have in that province is a native, and there was a number of children by the same woman with different fathers, and they had a pretty good rapport with each other, and they had a fairly good rapport with the kid. Then came another guy that raised allegation to the Children's Aid Society. Children's Aid got involved. The woman lost all her children, and the father that raised the allegation lost his son, and this native person lost his daughter. Now, in the process, the Children's Aid lawyer got one of the half-sisters to raise allegation, and somehow she got the she got the bike out of that person as the grading present. What happened to the other children? They got nothing. And this drags on, and when finally went to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal settled it, they started the adoption proceeding. And because the adoption proceeding were on, he had no leg to stand on to fight to regain custody of his daughter. I found a loophole to it, where an order gained by fraud could be overturned, and I brought that to his attention, but the guy was so depleted that he didn't take action on it within statute of limitation. And to me, and I see it here, and I see the people that are not here because they're emotionally drained. And it's sad because there's a few of us here, but there's a lot of suffering there out across the United States, across Canada, and throughout the world. And when the people inside there see what we have here, say, you got nothing to show. And we're not going to pay that much attention, but what they don't know is that we're only the tip of the iceberg, and the problem lies below. And unless we do something with the problem that's below, a lot of bad things going to happen. Now, growing up, quite a few years ago, I read something about the American dream. And it was a beautiful slogan. And up until 50, 60, when I was a kid, that held true. But somehow over the last maybe 10, 20 years, that American dream kind of faded away.